Hey guys, Nate Ashley here. Thank you for joining me on this new channel and this new venture. The purpose of this channel is to document my journey into becoming a Class A CDL holder and eventually full-time professional commercial truck driver. The process is not one to be taken lightly. It can be quite time-consuming. It can also require financial investment. So I thought that it would be helpful to document my process for anybody else out there who is considering doing the same thing here in the near future. The first thing, of course, you'd have to ask yourself is, do you think trucking is the right career path for you? I have some familiarity with the industry. My father was a truck driver for over 40 years. And the eventual goal in this is my partner also is going to be joining me, and we would be running as a team. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start my journey and go ahead and familiarize myself with the industry a little more so that we can both determine whether or not this is something we can see ourselves doing together. It requires quite a bit of time away from home, a lot of long hours, so it definitely isn't for everybody. I spent the last about 9 years working in an office in accounting and finance, working for a plumbing, electrical, and HVAC company. And I suffered an injury back in March of this year, which sort of prevented me from working and having to stay at home. And the longer I stayed out of work, the more I realized that I really did not want to go back to work in an office. I really want to be back outdoors again. I want to work with my hands. I want to be out in the world, and working in an office, looking at numbers and managing other people was not conducive to my happiness anymore. So I decided to make a career change and pursue becoming a Class A truck driver. So, of course, there are a few steps that you have to take, and I've completed some so far. The first thing you're going to want to do is go and get a DOT physical. These are done at pretty much every doctor's office, a lot of different medical offices, even a lot of chiropractic clinics do them, urgent cares do them. They're fairly inexpensive. Mine was only $75. So you're going to go do that. They check for just a number of, different health issues. And once you pass that, a DOT physical, you're going to receive a DOT card, also known as a DOT medical card. After you get your DOT medical cards, you're going to go to your local DMV and you're going to take your commercial learner's permit test. Now, the commercial learner's permit is just a written knowledge test. It doesn't require you operating a commercial vehicle in any way. And it's multiple choice questions. Now, the easiest way to prep for that test, and I can tell you the steps that I took, because I was able to go and pass the test with the necessary endorsements on my first try rather quickly. And that's not because I'm that smart. I'm just a dumb redneck from South Carolina. But if you follow these steps, I can assure you, you will pass it just as easily as I did. The first thing I did was I got a copy of my commercial driver's manual from my local DMV. A lot of DMVs also have free PDFs available online. The paper copy at the South Carolina DMV was $35. I'm sure it varies state to state. But I got the commercial driver's manual, and I read the relevant sections that I would need to become a full-time truck driver. And if you want to drive an 18-wheeler, it's necessary that at the minimum you take the following tests for your commercial learner's permit. That's general knowledge, air brakes, and combination vehicles. These are the bare minimum requirements that anybody's going to be looking at, be it a truck driving school or a carrier that has sponsored CDL training programs. They're going to want you to have those necessary endorsements on your commercial learner's permit. So I read those relevant sections, and then I was ready for step 2. And I cannot recommend doing this highly enough. There's an app. You just go on your app store and download CDL Test Genie. CDL Test Genie is a subscription app. It is $39 per month. And you might say, wow, that's really expensive. Trust me, you're not going to need to use it for more than 1 month. And $39 is not that much money to spend if it's going to guarantee you ace an exam that is going to open up new career paths for you and possibly change your life. So what CDL Test Genie does is it allows you to go in, it sets your state so that the questions and answers are tailored specifically to your DMV's exams. And it's going to allow you to set your required endorsements. Of course, I set general knowledge, air brakes, combination vehicles. There's a hazmat section on there. There's a doubles and triples section on there. If you're looking at getting a CDL to drive a school bus or a passenger bus, those sections are on there as well. None of them cost any extra. So you go in, you set it, and it tailors an exam for you. I went through, took all the practice questions, the practice exams. I probably took the practice exams over about a dozen times each, for one thing out of boredom because I was out of work at the time, but also just really to prep myself for the CLP exam. So I went and took the CLP exam last Sunday, and I went in and sat down and started taking the South Carolina DMV test. And I can tell you that the questions and even the multiple choice answers that were presented at the DMV were 99% identical to the ones that were presented on the app. I blew through the exam very, very quickly, came out, and got my commercial learner's permit. So the process was basically just like me sitting at home and practicing on the app when I went and took the exam. So it was really easy. Can't recommend that enough. I guarantee if you read your manual and you use that app, you will pass on the first try. So once I got my commercial learner's permit, I had a couple of options open to me. One of those options was I could go to a local CDL school. Now, local CDL schools around in my area ran an average of about $5,000. And I understand not everybody has $5,000 just to put up for school, especially if you're going to have to take time off work to go to school. Now, there are federal grants available for people who qualify. I've included information about those below. And also, a lot of your local technical colleges will have scholarships available for CDL training. So if you're wanting to go the CDL school route, I would recommend that you do contact your local community colleges, technical colleges, and ask if they have any scholarships available for CDL training. Mine here did, but I just decided not to go that route. I decided to go ahead and go through a company that did paid CDL training. And yes, there are companies out there that will pay you while they train you to operate a commercial motor vehicle. And the one big benefit of that is the first thing you're finished with school, you're guaranteed placement in a job as well. And you're gaining real hands-on experience while you're training because you're working in the company, picking up, delivering loads, things of that nature. So there are a number of companies. I've included a long list of them below, but I spoke to a few of them, but not limited to. I spoke to Prime Inc., I spoke to TMC Transportation, I spoke to Roehl Transport, I spoke to Maverick Transportation and Schneider, as well as Wilson Logistics. After speaking to all of them, I decided that probably my number one go-to was going to be Prime Inc. So after I got my commercial learner's permit, I went ahead and sent over applications to all of those companies. I received job offers from all of them pretty much within 2 to 3 days. Prime Inc. reached out to me the following day. And all of those guys reached back out to me really quickly because I had already about a week prior, 2 weeks prior even, to taking the CLP exam, I reached out to these companies and spoke to recruiters and asked questions about their programs. I don't think I would have received the job offer so quickly if I hadn't already established a rapport and gotten an internal referral code from these companies. So that's just a little bit of advice I'd put out there for anybody that's looking to do a paid CDL training program through a company. Go ahead before you get your commercial learner's permit, talk to a recruiter, get some information, get your name out there. That way when you're ready to start a job, you can go ahead and hit the ground running. So, like I said earlier, I went with Prime Inc. And you might ask, out of all of those options, why did I go with Prime Inc.? Well, Prime Inc. has a number of divisions that you can choose from, and I liked the variety in that. They also have a leasing program that appears to be somewhat, it appears interesting. I'm not saying for certain that I'm going to go with that path. I know that there's a lot of negative information out there about leasing with not only with Prime Inc., but a lot of different carriers. But you sort of have to figure out these things on your own through your own experience, because what works for some doesn't work for others. I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time at home. I can be on the road quite a bit, and especially if down the line my partner joins me running a team, we won't really have much need to be at home at all. So we'll have the opportunity to really stack some miles and make some money. But in addition to that, Prime seems to have a pretty nice company culture. Everybody that I spoke to there was very, very friendly. And I reached out to a trainer, actually, who has a YouTube channel prior to me acquiring my CLP, inquiring whether or not he'd be interested in training me. And his response was absolutely. So because of that, I'm going to be traveling to the location in Springfield, Missouri this upcoming Sunday. Prime has facilities in Missouri, Utah, and Pennsylvania where they do their CDL training. I'll be going to the one in Missouri because I requested that specific trainer. So the hiring process at Prime, I spoke to my recruiter. She sent me over just a couple of basic forms to fill out. She was very friendly. And she also sent me over a link where I had to go to a local collection facility to take a urinalysis drug test within 5 days of her sending over the job offer to me. So I went and did that this past Saturday. And now this Sunday I'll be flying out to Missouri. Prime does offer a free Greyhound bus ticket, free transportation to their terminals where they do training. I decided to opt to fly because I did have some flight credits I wasn't using, so it's not really costing me that much. Just so you're aware, they did offer me some reimbursement for the flight of $130. The actual ticket was more than that, but it's nice that they do offer that some level of reimbursement, which I believe she said would be paid out on the third day of orientation. So, I'm going to be making another video beginning of next week, later this week, about my travels to Missouri, about what the Prime Inc. orientation process is like, and a little tour of the facility there. And so if you're interested in what their hiring policies or procedures are like, what the orientation is like, what the training program is like, please give me a like and subscribe so you can keep up with me. Thank you for joining.